Hey everybody, what if you could build a completely custom interaction outside of standard e-learning tools without knowing a single line of code? I'm going to show you two different tools to be able to do that today. The first tool that we're going to be talking about, everybody knows about, and that is the ChatGPT. So for ChatGPT, you've been able to code and get help with code for a long time. But recently, they actually added the ability for you to preview your code right inside of ChatGPT. You would have to actually take that, copy and paste it into like a text editor or a notepad or something like that to be able to preview it. But you can do that right inside of here. So I'm going to walk you through that. But there's also another tool that I actually like a little bit better that allows you to still edit with ChatGPT, but you can get really fine-tuned into specific parts of the code. And this, what I'm talking about here, is not just an e-learning course or a website or anything like that. You can actually build mobile applications. You can build SQL applications. You can build pretty much whatever you wanted to do. So let's talk about ChatGPT first, and then we'll dive into the other tool, which is called Cursor. So inside of ChatGPT, if I wanted to build something like a custom learning interaction, I still need to know the components in order to know what to build. So you can't just go in blindly. I mean, you can, but you're not going to get the right output. It's like a calculator, so you have to know what you're going to be asking for. You have to know the right input to be able to get the right output. So that is an important part of the process. And a way to do that without having to like memorize the code or anything like that is to go to the different libraries that are out there. One of the libraries that I use a lot is Bootstrap. It comes out of the box with a lot of different components. If you scroll down under the documentation, there's different things like accordions, which we see in like standard e-learning tools. It has components for you to be able to do that. It has badges, it has cards, it has carousels, it has modals which pop up and offer different types of experiences. So it's good for you to get to know those components. Even if I was to go in and build an iPhone application, for example, or an Android application, it is still good to know those components. Because in any type of language, any type of coding experience, it always starts out with components. They have out-of-the-box components of like switches and dials and other things like that. So it's good to become familiar with what components come out of the box so you can prompt, whether it be ChatGPT or Cursor, you can prompt it in the right direction. And also knowing what to do if it doesn't give you exactly the right output as well. Telling it, okay, don't do this, do that. The way that in iPhone, different pages are shown is through sheets. And so if I don't know the word sheets, for example, then sometimes I could run into some unexpected errors. So that is something just to still familiarize yourself. You can't just be completely blind into it unless you just really want a simple application. But things with like HTML, there's things like just getting to know what the tags are, like paragraphs and buttons and links and hyperlinks and different things like that will help you in the right direction as well. So Apple even has components that you can come, if you Google search Apple or iOS components, they have different things like that. So let's go back into here and I'm going to go into ChatGPT and I'm going to create a basic web page. Just to out of the box, let's see how simple we can get here. So I'm going to give it a prompt, create a simple web page using Bootstrap as the foundation for the components and layout. Give me some sample out of the box content. So just a simple prompt, but now it opens up this navigation. Before it would just give you little snippets that you would have to copy and paste, but now it's showing me the entire page. And when I want to update it, instead of giving me a new snippet where I needed to know how to copy and where to paste that into, it basically updates the entire page for me. So it gives me the HTML code. So you can see it has some things like a nav bar, it has the page content, it has some cards, it has some contact information. I want to see what this looks like. I could actually come over here and copy and paste it into my text editor. So like Visual Studio Code or Sublime Text or Dreamweaver or something like that. You could copy and paste it into there. Or I can just click on preview. And if you click on preview, you'll notice this little prompt. I'm just going to click allow here. And so you can see there is basic information. So I have a title bar, so I have a navigation bar up on top. I have a banner, I have an about us, and I have some contact information. I don't really want the contact information, so I'm going to click on stop here. And I'm going to go over to my prompt on the left-hand side. And this is where you can tell it to like remove or to add stuff or to add like an accordion or stuff like that. Let's go ahead and say remove the contact. And it's good to like specify area. So right here, contact us. So remove the contact us section. Now it's going to go through line by line and update that as well. Now, if I wanted to start adding JavaScript or CSS files, it does get a little bit more complex, but it is just a nice way to be able to generate some simple content and preview that content and see what it looks like. So it looks like that is done. I'm going to go ahead and click on preview, and it's still popping up with this. I'm not sure what this one is, if this has to do with ChatGPT or if it has to do with Bootstrap. So I'm going to go ahead and click on allow, and you can see that it got rid of that contact. But let's go ahead and add on an accordion. So add on an accordion, and it's good to specify like what location, if you're going to add to it, add it in this area, like right below this. So we're going to go ahead and say add on an accordion. And for some reason I cannot spell today. So accordion under the about us section. So I'm going to hit enter. And I think the alert might be happening because of this placeholder. So this image right here, I'd have to swap out. You can see that it's starting to build out the accordion, and it is helpful for you to know a little bit of HTML so you can go in and change some of the content, or you can prompt specifically change this, change that, and get a better result here. Okay, so it looks like we're done. So let's go ahead and preview. And you can see, I'm going to click on always allow so I don't get that alert anymore. But there is our accordion. So we could start to insert some text. We can start to create different experiences. You can add different libraries out there. There's one library called Swiper.js that allows you to create a carousel, like the entire page. I'll show you in a different example of that, but let's see if it allows us to add swiper pages. Build out a carousel under the accordion that uses Swiper API. I'm going to hit stop here so I can see the code, and it's going to start generating the code. Now it's going to be inside of ChatGPT. So at some point, if I want to save this or I want to put this on a website or something like that, I'm going to either have to download it or I'm going to have to copy it into the files. And that's one of the other reasons why I like to use the other tool that I'm going to be talking about called Cursor, because it's part of that project file that's already on your desktop. It's almost done here. It does need to use some JavaScript, so it's added some JavaScript here in order to run the swiper. So I'm going to go ahead and click on preview here. And you can see that it is requiring images, and I don't have any images here yet, but this is where the carousel would be. And instead I can actually see, it says an error occurred with the Bootstrap page. Let's go ahead and fix the bug. And you can see the console down here. So even if you are alerting things to the console, it would show up in there. So this is where the carousel would be. Again, I'd probably want to swap that out. Now, if I click on this, let's go ahead and hit stop here. And if I select this drop-down box, I can hit close console, or this is also where I can open the console up here. But I'm going to close that out here. And notice if I come back into here, what I would have to do to expand that out again is just click into it, or you can click the expand button over on the right-hand side. So either way works. And then I just copy and I paste this into some type of text editor. So a nicer way to be able to update content than what you saw before. You can also take a zipped file and you can actually put it inside of here and it would open it up. And so if you already have a website or an e-learning project like Storyline or something like that, and you put it inside of here, this is a way that you can actually get code snippets or update some code like JavaScript snippets that you're trying to use inside of Storyline. You could use ChatGPT for that kind of thing. Now, my favorite tool though, and so that's a nice feature, but one of my favorite tools is called Cursor. So Cursor AI, this is a text editor that looks very much like Visual Studio Code, and you can download it, but you can prompt through what you want to build. And you can build anything. You can build iOS applications, you can build websites, you can basically use ChatGPT, or you can use Claude, whatever library that you want to use. And so this has a free limit. And so there is the amount of prompts that you can do with like the higher level of coding is a certain limit, but you can also do like the free version of coding. So it's not as good, but so once you hit that limit, you just basically use the free language model. But it is like $20 a month. So to me, if I'm doing a lot of this, it would save me a whole lot of time. And I've recently used this for several different projects. And so one project that I was working on where I wanted to build a custom interaction was the Camtasia certification course. And in the Camtasia certification course, I wanted to create some custom interactions that kind of were different than what you could build inside a storyline. So the first one that I built, and I'll show you some of these examples, is this carousel where it uses swiper pages to be able to go back and forth. And it is very touch friendly, so you can actually swipe it back and forth there. These are animated GIFs that are playing up here, but I did not write a single line of code. I did swap out the images, and that's really all that I did, but I did not write a single line of code for this. I've prompted and adjusted basically just through prompts. So the other example is I wanted to build, if you've ever used Camtasia before, I wanted to build a visual effects experience where you can actually click on the visual effects similar to what you see inside of Camtasia and have it expand out for more descriptive content. So if you come in here and you want to learn a little bit more about background removal, notice how like it even just animates in. That was something that I had to prompt, like when you hover over it, just have it animate a little bit. So if you click on it, it then expands out that image, and it also changes this to green. So if I come in here and click on this, you can see there's an image and a description for that. So that is all done through prompts. Now I needed to know that there are collapsibles inside of Bootstrap that allow me to collapse and hide things basically, and also rows and columns, how rows and columns work inside of Bootstrap. Another example, and this is actually something I've been working on a lot, and I'll dive into Cursor here in a little bit. I just wanted to give you some examples. And this is a custom framework. What if I wanted to build a different type of experience that is outside of Storyline, that is outside of Rise, that is more of like this carousel swipe page to page type of experience? So using Cursor, I was able to build this animated menu that you could just basically come in and search for content still. You could select different pages to jump to different pages. You can exit out of that. Notice how it animates from the menu into the X. This is all done through prompts, all done through knowing the components of Bootstrap and Swiper to be able to do that. I did not need to write the code. I just needed to know what was possible there. And you can see the different pages like the next and back button. And this is fully responsive as well. So you can see that it adapts to the different screen sizes. And here is my accordion, and you can see how the plus button animates into a minus button, and you can also see how it highlights the side as well. If I click on next, you can see this is a tab interaction, so you can create different types of tab interactions, all through prompts. Every single type of page was a prompt. And this one is probably my favorite one, where you can hover over, scroll through. If the page is kind of smaller, let me make this a little bit smaller. You can scroll through horizontally. And so you can see the little plus icon. If you click on one of those images, it has a pop-up. And if you go ahead and close that out, it now changes that to a check mark. So this is a nice interaction. You can see I'm at the end of the pages, and there you go. So just something that I could build custom. So if I ever wanted to build a course that was outside of Storyline and have it be very responsive, I could just use Cursor for this kind of thing. One more example I wanted to show was an iOS application. So for iOS applications, you use a tool normally called Xcode. And the coding library is actually called, let me go into the first thing here. The coding library is called Swift UI. And knowing the components and knowing Swift UI and some of the things you can do with Swift UI, I was able to prompt this to build a to-do application. And I'm going to show you that to-do application here. This works on iPhone, this works on iPad as well. And I was able to give it specific instructions for how it to work on iPad, how it to work on iPhone as well. And I was also able to add on iCloud Sync, which I'm not seeing with the preview here, but this works on my phone perfectly. So I'm going to go ahead and click done. But even knowing how this animates in, I had to know that you can animate in, and to be able to animate a different window, you're using something called Sheets. So still helpful for you to be able to know this, but this, instead of having to know all the ins and outs of the code, I just need to have to know the architecture. I need to know what to give it in order to get the right output. Just like a calculator, I need to know how to put the right things into the calculator to get the right output, but I also need to double check my work and make sure that that is right. This AI is basically just that. Knowing how to put in the right thing, knowing how to get the right thing, and edit the right thing as well. All right, so if I go ahead and click on plus, this adds a little new task thing. And one of my favorite to-do applications on iOS is called Things. But one of the things I've always wanted it to do is to be able to add dated notes where I can like say, here's the progress on this task for today, and then add that. Now, when you add a task, it doesn't have that spot to add a note, but if you go into the task, it does allow you to go ahead, change the date, but also give it a priority as well. But this is really what I wanted it to do, is just to give it some progress. So I can type in progress and hit save note, and then it adds a note. So each day that I'm working on this task basically expands this out and allows me to add a note, which I can then swipe and delete if needed. If I want it to focus on today, I can go ahead and select focus on today. If I hit save now, it adds different things there. And then I can go ahead and just filter this out by priority, filter this out by today. So this is something that I've always wanted to do, but I never got to that level of iOS programming. So Cursor has helped me get to that level because I already knew the components, I already knew kind of what I was asking. So it helped kind of fill in the spots there. And that's really where I see these types of tools being able to do is you still have to know the components. You still have to know what you're going to ask it, but it will help you get there without having to have somebody completely specialized in that program. So let's go ahead and dive into Cursor here. So I'm going to pull up a sample project. We're going to build an interactive video tool. So I have this video from my Storyline and JavaScript course here, and it is helpful with Cursor to have a folder to begin with. So I'm going to go ahead and just call this one interactive video, and let's go ahead and hide Xcode here, and let's hide our browser, and there we go. There's our interactive video. Now, inside of Cursor, I'm going to open up that folder. I have a previous folder open right now, but I'm going to open that folder of interactive video and click open. It allows me to build out folders and it allows me to build out files. When you're working with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, I like to create the initial files and the initial folder structure, and then I have Cursor take it from there. So the first file when you're working with a website is always index.html. I've seen some people not do that, but that's kind of best practice is to have that one index.html. Then I'm going to go ahead and create a folder called CSS. That is where all my CSS is going to be. And I'm going to create a folder called JS. That's where all of my JavaScript is going to be. Now inside of my CSS, I will create a folder called main.css. And inside of my JavaScript, I'm going to go ahead and create a file called main.js. .js means that it's a JavaScript file. All right, so I have these three different files created. I want to create one more folder, and this one is going to be my media folder. Now, anything I do here is actually going to directly translate into this folder. So it's automatically created these files for me, and it's created a media folder for me too. What I'm going to do from here is go ahead and in my examples here, I'm going to copy this video over, and I'm going to place it inside of the media folder there. We're just kind of setting the stage at this point. So now we can use Cursor to prompt everything else. And there's two different ways that you can use Cursor. You can actually come into the files itself and you can actually use the chat. So you just click on this little toggle and it brings up two different things, a chat and a composer. A chat is basically if you're just targeting very specific things, or the composer just looks at all the files and it basically just will update all the files out all at once. And so most of the time, if you're not wanting to write any code, you'll probably use the composer here. And you could also come in here and as you start to type things, it will actually give you hints as you start to type if you already know some HTML. But if you don't know HTML, you can just use the composer. So coming to the right-hand side here, what I'm going to do is say create a basic web page with attachments to Bootstrap and to my main.css and main.js files. So we're just going to create the basic structure here. Now, if I go ahead and hit enter, it's going to create these files. You can see what code it actually gets generated in. So it's creating my main.css and it is creating my index.html. And because I said to attach the main.css and the main.js, it kind of knows to place the CSS inside of that folder, inside of that file. So you can see here that all I have to do, if I look at all these things, it tells me what steps to include if I need to, and then I just click accept all. Now, if I come back into here to index.html, it has written out this code for me. Great. How do I preview it? You can either come into the folder and double click on index.html, or if you have extensions, like there is the ability to add extensions here, there is this live server extension that basically, if I come down here and click on go live, it will actually preview it, and any changes, if you have two monitors, you can have it up and the side, any changes you make inside of there will automatically show here. So just a nice way to be able to preview as you start to build. I did not need to write any code for that so far, but let's go ahead and continue to add to this here. Let's make the container, which is in Bootstrap, that's your main content. So I'm going to come in here, and you can target just specific files, or if you don't target any files, it'll just kind of look at all of them. But I'm going to go in and say, make the container white background while the body is light gray. Now, just by doing that, it's going to add a white background into the container, and you can see what code has been updated. I'll click accept all, go back into my browser, and you can see it's automatically updated. Now, it does sometimes just take liberty on some stuff, and in order to separate that white container from the gray background, it added a drop shadow in CSS. I accidentally zoomed in there. Let me zoom out here. There we go. So it automatically added that. That's fine. So let's go back in here. I think it looks great that way. You can see right here, there's the box shadow right there. All right, so let's prompt this a little bit more. Under the text, link to the video file inside of my media folder, labeled 0303. That's the name of the video file, so I can just hit enter here, and it should just add the video right there. So there's my video container, and you can see it's automatically added video container as part of a class there. Great. Let's hit accept, come back into here, and there we go. Now it's not actually pointing to the right video, so I think I named it, it's actually 0304. So I can prompt, okay, it's actually point to 0304, or if you know HTML, you can come right into here and say 0304 there, hit save, and boom, there we go. There's my video. So just by prompting, I've been able to build a page with a video. Let's go even further. I can customize anything that I want. We can actually add different events to happen at different parts of the video. So let's go back into cursor here, and let's say prompt a modal. This is where knowing the components of Bootstrap help, because modals are little pop-ups. And I've noticed that whenever you're trying to give instructions, especially like JavaScript type of instructions, like behavior type of instructions, it is best to be very specific. So think about the learning experience. You want the video at a certain point to pop open an experience, a modal. But make sure that the video stops playing. So these are the kind of things that you have to think through. Now, if the video keeps playing and you're testing, then you can go back and say, hey, stop the video when the modal is shown. But also, like, do you want the modal to be the same on every, if you're going to do this at different points in your video? These are things that it still helps to think through your content so you know what to input into here. But let's say prompt a modal at 10 seconds that can be reusable at other points in the video with different content. Make sure that you pause the video when the modal is displayed and play the video when the modal dismisses. Also add a close X button on the top right of the modal. So that way they can close it, or you can have a close button at the bottom, either way. So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter here. Now it's probably going to add some JavaScript here as well in order to handle these triggers. You can see it's updating the main.css, but now it's updating the main.js. Great. I don't need to know exactly what's happening here, but it's also updating some JavaScript. So I only told it to do it at 10 seconds, but you can see here in this little config, model config, it's actually added it at 20 seconds and 30 seconds. And so it just, because I said it's reusable, that's fine. Now I don't need to accept all. I can actually just reject all if I wanted to, but I'm going to click accept all. Let's go back into here and let's hit play. I'm going to go ahead and mute that real quick and watch this as it gets to 10 seconds here. So there's 7, 8, 9, and then 10. It's going to pause the video. There is my X button up on top. This is the information. Did you know? and then I can go ahead and close that out, and we have a little bit of a problem. It basically kept prompting that at 10 seconds. So this is where you start to troubleshoot, and you would basically give it a prompt. Say, I noticed that when I closed the modal on the first one, it showed up 2 more times. Make sure it only shows once at that point. And sometimes if you get like an error in the console, you can copy and paste that and say, hey, I'm getting this error. And there's a lot of times I had to do that because I didn't know what the error was specifically. And sometimes it would fix it, sometimes it wouldn't. So I'd have to go back and just say, well, now fix this, now fix that. So it does still take time. You still have to give it direction. You still have to know what you're asking for. But the fact that I've been able to build this quickly is mind-blowing in my opinion. Let's watch this at 10 seconds and then I'll show you how you can actually change which framework is being used for this code generation. So there's my 10 seconds. I'm going to go ahead and hit close. Notice how it only showed up once. So great, that solved it. But let's see if it shows up at 20 seconds here. Oh, it doesn't look like it showed up at 20 seconds. So I'll probably have to troubleshoot and say, hey, oh, this is why. So it only added 10 seconds here. So maybe in the specification or in the last prompt that I did, it removed the 20 and it removed the 30, and that's fine. So I can go ahead and add on 20 here. And that's really, knowing where to look for this code sometimes is helpful, because you could actually come in here and start adding, or like right here, I can uncomment that out, or I can just start typing in. And if you do Command or Control L, this allows you to chat. And when you're using chat, you can just target this line of code, which I think this is where it's more helpful than the ChatGPT experience, because you can go into just specific lines of code rather than every file. So, because if you do every file, sometimes it overwrites or like rewrites the visuals of some other things that you were like, no, I didn't want that to happen. But if you're targeting it and you're going to very specific things, that is helpful too, which the cursor allows you to do. And speaking of cursor, if I come into cursor and I actually come into the context, this is where I can also specify just look in this file or just do that file. Also right here, this is where you can specify the model. If you just want to use, right now it's using Claude, or if you want to use ChatGPT 4, or if you wanted to use ChatGPT or O3 mini, you can do that, or cursor small. So these are different language models that you can do. I find Claude works really well, but ChatGPT you may also use as well. Also, one other cool thing is you can actually take an image. So if you have an image of something and you're like, hey, I want to build an accordion like this, you can actually take a screenshot of the image somewhere that you like it, and it will build it there for you too. Web development as a whole, a lot of the times is copying. Like, I hate to say it, but you go get inspiration from another website and you make it your own, which in a lot of ways is like how you learn too. You go learn how somebody else does it, but the key is to make it your own, to make it different, to add on your own visuals, to add on your own functionality, and so forth. Cursor has been one of my favorite tools for past couple of months. I've been able to do a lot with it, been able to customize a lot of things quicker than I have just being able to do it through code. But like I mentioned a couple of times already, it's still helpful for you to know the components. It's helpful for you to know what to ask it in order to get the right output. You need to know what to input to get the right output. There still also needs to be that human verification. So you have, even if you're going to use AI, you still have to input into AI and then check the output from there as well. Hopefully this at least gives you some ideas how you can actually go in and go beyond what's out of the box, but also you could even use it, coming back into both ChatGPT and Cursor, you can actually use it to say, hey, I have some JavaScript inside of Storyline, how can you help me with this? So you can copy some of that JavaScript, paste it into ChatGPT, and ChatGPT can give you the right JavaScript. These tools are tremendously helpful. And I do cover both of these tools, or will be covering. Right now at this point, I haven't covered it yet, but I will be covering both of these tools inside of my Storyline and JavaScript course. If you want to check that out, head on over to learningdojo.ninja. If I click on blog here, it'll take me to my courses and my blog. You can check out all previous blog posts. You can get the JavaScript and Articulate Storyline course, and get started on that if you're new to JavaScript as well. That's why in the JavaScript course, I still cover the basics of JavaScript. So even though you use AI, you still know what to ask it, still know how to ask it, and so forth. Hopefully this has been helpful for you. If you like this video, head on over to my YouTube channel, click the like button and subscribe to my channel, as well as hit the bell notification so you get notified of all future videos as they come out. That really helps my channel and allows me to continue to produce these videos for you. And if you have any comments, if you have any suggestions as well of things that you want to see that you haven't seen yet, or say, hey, Jeff, I would love to see you build something in Cursor from start and go from there. So that's the kind of thing, if you do have those suggestions, feel free to comment on my blog or comment on my YouTube channel as well. That's all I have for today. So thanks everyone, and I'll see you next time.